My name is Julia Anderson. I've been married for 4 years and have a 2-year-old daughter. My husband works at a general hospital, and I thought we had a good relationship. But was I the only one who thought so? One day, while my husband was off to work, a woman stormed into the house. My daughter was out with her grandparents at an amusement park, and I was home alone. I had never seen this woman before, but she greeted me with a bright smile, and since she seemed nice, I thought it might be okay to let her into the house. As I made coffee and we started chatting casually, the conversation took an unexpected turn. "Please break up with him." Stunned by her sudden demand, I couldn't grasp what she meant. When I asked her to explain, she burst into tears. "I'm dating Ryan. I love him so much." Dating? You mean it's serious? Yes, I can't live without him. Please, let him be with me. I can't just agree to that suddenly. I had no idea he had a girlfriend. How could I know if that's true? I need to talk to him first. Please don't say that, just break up with him. It's not that simple to just break up. You mean you won't break up with him? Whether it was her overwhelming emotions or the fact that the conversation wasn't going her way, she attacked me, repeatedly striking my face with a coffee cup. Coffee splashed everywhere, staining the carpet, and I was increasingly covered in blood. I thought she was going to kill me. Just when I thought that, she seemed to snap back to reality, dropped the coffee cup on the floor, and left the house. As she walked out the front door, I rushed into my car and drove to the hospital where my husband worked. Despite the pain all over my body, I managed to get to the hospital and rasped out, "Please, call my husband." The nurse, shocked, replied, "There's no doctor by that name here," and took me to the examination room. I was asked something by the doctor, but all I could think about was that my husband was not there. My husband is Ryan Anderson. He should be in surgery. Even so, the response I got was, "There's no Dr. Anderson here. There never has been." What then? At that point, I passed out. It seemed I had a dream while unconscious. It was as if I was looking back on my life. My parents were wealthy, and I never had to worry about money as a child. After graduating from university, I worked as an employee. It was during that time, at a mixer thrown by a friend, that I met my husband. At the time, my husband was in his first year of residency, and his salary was very low. He would apologetically say he had no money when we went on dates. I was working, and if I ran out of pocket money, I could just ask my parents for more. So, I always paid for our dates. "Sorry, I'll be able to cover the dates soon. Don't worry about it. I work, and money is not an issue for me." But years passed, and he remained poor. His parents were poor, and I couldn't even imagine their level of living. After we got married, he sent money to his parents every month. I suggested living together to ease their life, but he refused. "No, my mom and dad like their house." "Why?" "That house is quite old." "For you maybe, but for my parents, it's a house of memories. They've lived there since their newlywed days. And that's where our family history is etched." In the end, my in-laws never moved from their old house, and most of my husband's salary went to them. I couldn't rely on his salary. "Sorry, my parents are poor, so I have to give most of my salary to them. That means we really have little for ourselves." I never realized how strange it was. And I even felt proud of my husband for supporting his parents. When I told my parents about this, they were impressed by what a great person he was. So, I never doubted he was a wonderful person. But the truth was, life was hard, and for the first time, I experienced having no money. When I consulted with my parents, they decided to help out of love for their daughter. But telling my husband would hurt his pride. So out of consideration, I said nothing to him. I worked for him, pleaded to my parents for him, and did everything I could for him. I thought I was happy. Everything was for my husband. Yet, one day, a woman came and I was shattered. Completely, both body and soul. When I regained consciousness, I was apparently crying. The futon was wet, and tears streamed down my cheeks. I thought, was that a dream? It felt so real. It was like a dream telling me that my past self had been betrayed. If not for that, I might never have admitted to being betrayed. It was betrayal, that woman was his mistress, and I had been deceived all along. The worst. For 4 years. Even before we married, so 5 years. I have been deceived all along. He wasn't even working, so sending money to his parents was also a lie. I involved my parents and was just being used by him. And yet, I never realized it. I was a clown. The agony welled up, and I felt a pain in my chest as if being stabbed with needles. I could do nothing about this torment. My husband appeared, nonchalant as if nothing had happened. Why has it come to this? I couldn't sort out my feelings, let alone tell him the truth. If I did, our relationship would be over. Part of me wanted to break up, and part of me didn't. A stranger came by, and while we were talking, she hit me. Why would you let a stranger into our house? What about Emma? Was Emma okay? Emma was taken to the amusement park by her grandparents since the morning. I see, she was okay. Good. How are you doing? Can't you tell? You were hit? Just bruises? It's not just bruises. I wouldn't be hospitalized just for that. Is that so? I was hit on the head with a dish. You're a doctor, you should know how serious that is. Yes, that's right. Ah. I have patients waiting, so I must go. My husband, unable to answer, left the hospital room in a hurry. I thought, I knew it, he's not a doctor. Liar. As I lay in bed staring blankly at the ceiling, my parents walked in with my child. My mother, not expecting that her daughter would be hospitalized while they were at the amusement park, burst into tears as soon as she saw me. Julia. Poor thing. It must have been scary, right? Mom. What happened to make it come to this? What exactly happened? Ryan's woman came. What? What do you mean? Are you saying Ryan was cheating? Hey, why don't you take Emma to the shop or something? Ah, yes, that's a good idea. My father, sensing this was not a conversation for a young child, asked my mother to step out. Once my daughter and wife had left the room, I began to tell my father everything. She came out of nowhere and said she wanted me to break up with him. But I couldn't just do that, and I told her it wasn't that simple. Maybe she got angry because things didn't go her way. She suddenly started hitting me. And with a coffee cup, she hit me on the head. With a coffee cup? Yes. It seems my brain is okay, so I'll be fine. But I will need to stay in the hospital for a while. So, I'm asking you to take care of Emma. That's fine, but what are you going to do from now on? What will I do? Are you going to break up with Ryan? I don't know what to do. Dad, what should I do? If it were up to me, I'd want you to break up. He's put you in danger. And with that kind of woman involved, who knows what she could do to Emma? Ah, you're right. I should think about Emma. There have been too many lies. That's right. Thank you, Dad. I will get a divorce. Good, then leave the rest to me. It wouldn't be fun to just break up without making a point. Thinking deeply, my father said he was going to the shop and left the room. Until my discharge, my husband did not visit. And my parents and I steadily prepared for the divorce. As the day of my discharge approached, I was determined to get a divorce. Furthermore, I became increasingly resentful towards my husband, who hadn't visited even once and hadn't even asked about our daughter. Despite this, I decided to return home for now, but when I got there, my husband was nowhere to be found. Moreover, it was clear from how neat the house was that a woman had been there. I thought, unforgivable. He had a woman in this house. I gathered some personal belongings and returned to my parents' home. At night, I received a call from my husband. He must have known today was my discharge day. And yet, instead of coming to pick me up, he had not replied earlier. Now, he was calling to ask why I wasn't home. Julia, you were discharged today, right? That's right. Why aren't you at home? I'm at my parents' house. Why are you at your parents' house? I wonder why. It's not a matter of I wonder why, come back home. Do you have any idea how worried I am? Worried? If you were worried, you could have visited me in the hospital. How can you say you're worried when you only visited once? I was busy with work, I couldn't help it. Oh, really? Well, I'll be staying here for a while. What? Without saying anything further, I hung up the phone. Then my husband came flying over. Now of all times. When he arrived, he acted as if nothing had happened and started to talk about taking our daughter and going back home. But my parents wouldn't allow it. Julia has just been discharged from the hospital. What are you planning to make her do by immediately taking her back home? What? If you were a doctor, you'd understand what this means. But there's something we need to talk about, so sit down. Honey, please take care of Emma. Yes. My mother took my daughter to another room, while my husband's smile stiffened. It's scary how angry you look. What's going on with both of you? There's nothing funny here. In this situation, it's you who seems to be out of your mind for laughing. What do you mean, this situation? Do you even understand why I was hospitalized? Yeah, some unknown woman came in, right? The issue is who that woman is. Huh? If she's unknown, then she's unknown. She said she was your girlfriend. That's why she asked me to break up with you. Huh? That must be some misunderstanding. Do you think I'd get hurt like this over a misunderstanding? No, that's a mistake. That woman must be crazy. Why would I be with another woman? That's impossible. A crazy woman? Yeah, that's right. She must be a stalker or something. I've felt like I've been watched recently, so I was trying to keep you safe from harm. But I never imagined she'd do something like this. Are you serious about that? Of course. There's no way I could be cheating. Really? So, about being a doctor at the general hospital, is that true? Of course. I'm a surgeon at the general hospital. That's strange. The hospital you work at is the one I was admitted to, right? What? When I rushed in and asked them to call my husband, they said there was no doctor named Anderson. They said there never had been. What? My husband looked perplexed and tilted his head as if something was wrong. If you really are a doctor at that hospital, why didn't you show your face at all while I was admitted? Ah, I hadn't told you, but I was transferred from that general hospital to another one a bit further away. I couldn't visit because I was busy every day. I hardly even came home. That's also strange. The coffee cup that should have been on the floor, and the coffee stains that should have been on the carpet were all cleaned up. I thought it would be tough for you when you came back, so I cleaned that up myself. That's another lie, isn't it? It's not a lie. You lie as easily as you breathe. I'm telling you it's not a lie. What's wrong? Did getting hit in the head mess you up? I was told at the hospital that there has never been a surgeon named Anderson there. That's just because the nurse you asked didn't know. Not everyone knows who I am. Even though you're both in surgery? Could that really happen? It's a big hospital. Then show me your medical license. What? I don't have that on me. You don't have it? That's right. I have something like a license, but it's too big to carry around. No, you're supposed to carry something like a license with you. What? Here, like this. My father showed his smartphone screen, and my husband froze and thought for a while. Then he said, that thing. I keep it safe at home because it would be terrible if I lost it. My father swiped the screen a few times. Then he showed the screen titled Medical Qualification Verification Search. It seems you're not there. That means you're a fake doctor. That must be just a registration error. What nonsense are you spouting? If it's a registration error, how can you work at a general hospital? Wouldn't the hospital check whether you're a real doctor? No. It really is a registration error. These things happen. Dad, aren't you unfamiliar with IT? After all, it's humans who do the registering. These things happen. How far will you go in denying it? Then tell me about the money you've been sending to your parents. I've been hearing all these great things, but perhaps that's a lie too? That's not true. It's all real. Is that so? I've had you investigated, and it turns out you attended school through correspondence for both high school and college. I was told it was a famous university's medical school, but it was completely different. A correspondence school that no one knows, and you were almost a shut-in. At some point, your mother, fed up with your inability to do anything, tried to make you work a part-time job, but that didn't go well either. Since then, you've given up on working. Though you said you worked, it lasted only about a week. Is that so? I was shocked by these new facts, and as I looked at my husband, his face turned from pale to red, like a traffic light. Your parents continued to work for your sake, and eventually, your father passed away from the stress. Yet, you refused to leave your room. Later, in place of your father, your mother worked desperately. But her income was low, and life became more difficult. Yet she worked hard, came home, cooked, and collapsed into bed every day. Even seeing your mother like that, you never changed, never left the house. At 25, thinking that you couldn't go on like this and would end up alone in the future, you decided you had to marry. You looked for a woman who would support you and attended a mixer. That's where you met Julia. You lied about being a doctor, deceived her, and succeeded in marrying her. How can you say such things? Even if you're my father-in-law, that's defamation. Then my father took out an envelope marked Detective Agency. This envelope contains an investigation report about you. Everything I've just said comes from that investigation. How can you say it's true? The investigation could be wrong. Even the most capable detective can't uncover every detail of a person's past. My father took out his smartphone again and tapped the screen. The voice that came from the phone was my mother-in-law's. That boy has never worked a day in his life. He got married, and it seems he's getting by somehow, so I'm finally relieved. Sending money home? Never happened. Not once since he got married. He's never worked, so it must be Julia's earnings that are keeping them going. There'd be no way to send money home. Stop it. Detectives might not know your past, but surely your own parents would? I've heard a lot, and they told me just what the detectives did. And that there has never been any money sent home. Wow, I was surprised. You've deceived not only Julia and us, but even your own parents. My husband turned pale and trembled. It seemed like a complete knockout, but my father did not ease up on him. Now, shall we get to the main point? The main point? It seems you have a mistress, not a stalker. No, that's not true. She's a stalker. No matter how much you insist, it's useless. It's all written in the investigation report. Surely, she must be in cahoots with the detective. Is that so? Then how will you explain this? My father pulled several photos from the envelope. They showed the woman who hit me walking arm in arm with my husband. Both of them coming out of a hotel. And the two of them looking outside from the woman's apartment. There were too many scenes just like these. How will you explain this evidence? That woman is crazy. She kept coming on to me persistently. So, I promised Julia I wouldn't get close to her. And was just trying to keep the woman appeased. Is that so? The only person I love is Julia. Ignoring my husband's desperate attempts to explain. My father stood up and opened the door to the next room. Out came Michelle, the mistress who had hit me. Ah. Michelle. Why are you here? Why? Why are you here? You said we were going to get married, right? Yet, you call me a stalker? You always said your love for your wife was fading. And that you wanted to get back together? No, You said you were a doctor, that you were a resident with no money, right? That your wife took all your salary, so you had no money. That's why I've been helping you out with what little salary I get. And yet, you weren't even a doctor, nor did you have any intention of leaving your wife. I believed you and confronted your wife. That's going too far. If I hadn't done that, I'd still be deceived by you. Michelle, do you really want to marry this man? Of course. I've been with him for a long time and decided to live for him. No, it's not true. I never intended to leave Julia. How cruel. You don't want to leave your wife? So everything you told me was a lie? No, it wasn't a lie. I was serious about that. But it's also true that I don't want to leave my wife. That's unacceptable. I even gave you pocket money. You said you'd pay me back once your residency was over and your salary increased. You asked me to bear with it for now. That's true, but if being a doctor was a lie, how were you planning to pay me back? Well, I thought Michelle would understand. Understand what? Maybe, if I said I got fired as a doctor, it would somehow work out. So you were planning to deceive me again? Continue to be with me as a mistress while staying married to your wife? Don't think of it that way. It's better if we just enjoy our time together without thinking about marriage. I wanted to get married. I wanted to be your wife. Marrying you means divorcing Julia. Doing that would mean I can't access Julia's inheritance. She's a wealthy heiress. Staying married to her is much more profitable than marrying you. Ah, I see. So that's why you married Julia, with all those lies. The worst. To think it was all for my father's inheritance from the start. No, that's not it. It's just sophistry to convince Michelle. Sophistry? So you do prefer your wife over me? Michelle, let me ask you again. Even now, do you still want to marry this man? Of course. No matter how many times you ask, my feelings won't change. Well, that's good to hear. Then here's the divorce paper. Julia, Ryan, sign it. What? No, I don't want a divorce. Whether you sign it now or later, it'll happen. I can hire a lawyer. This is. I picked up the pen and wrote down my name. Now it's your turn. My father placed the divorce paper in front of my husband. And although he resisted, he agreed to the divorce. Now, this is next. The marriage certificate. Even if you submit the divorce paper, you can't submit the marriage certificate right away. You have to wait until the divorce is recognized. That's about 2 weeks. But if I let you two write the marriage certificate after becoming a couple, this man might not write it. So, sign now. This is. You've already signed the divorce paper. No matter how much you resist, the result will be the same. With trembling hands, my husband signed the marriage certificate. And Michelle signed it happily. Now you two are married. Congratulations. What a situation. I was managing everything so well until now. From now on, you are mine alone. Ryan, I will be claiming compensation and child support. What? But I don't have any money. Whether you have money or not, it's only natural to claim it. After all, you had a mistress. It costs money to raise Emma. That's not fair, Father. Aren't you wealthy? You have more than enough, even without taking from a poor man like me. That's a different matter. If you don't have money, borrow it and pay in full. In full. How much will it be? Emma is only 2 years old. You'll pay until Emma graduates from university, for the next 20 years. Pay $500 each month. You can calculate how much that will be. How am I supposed to borrow that much? I'm unemployed, who would lend to me? There are plenty of places that will lend to you. Borrowing isn't only about going through reputable sources. That's something for you as a couple to figure out. And Michelle, be prepared because I'll be billing you too. Yes. Since I'm getting married, I'll pay properly. What should I do? Michelle, you pay my share. Ryan, if you have debts, you have to work. Maybe this will finally motivate you to start working. Then you can live a human life. That's right. Michelle, you're something else. Maybe you're better for this man than anyone. Ryan, this might be your last chance for rehabilitation. Work hard and pay it back. But I don't want to work. Well, that's the end of it, you can go home now. No, there's still more. What about the division of assets? The house and car. And other household appliances. I'm entitled to half. You've hardly contributed to the living expenses all this time. The little you did contribute sometimes was money you received from Michelle, wasn't it? You think you could buy a house or car under those circumstances? Everything was bought with money my father helped us with. So the house and the car are my father's. There's nothing for you. That's ridiculous. What about clothes, suits, shoes? Those were also bought by my father, so I'll have them disposed of. Why even those? Just buy them again. It's not a joke, you know. Some of those suits cost thousands of dollars. Give it up. It's your fault for not working. Besides, you've been lying all along. Now you'll have to straighten up for her. Ah, what a situation. Don't worry, I'm here for you. I'll support you so you can work properly. But I won't let you cheat ever again. Michelle said this with a creepy smile. Ryan, oblivious to Michelle's demeanor, was slumped in shock. Later, Ryan moved into the apartment where his mistress lived, but was unable to borrow money as he had hoped. So, Michelle borrowed the money in her name and paid it off in one go. But this was the beginning of hell for him. Michelle, who had always been kind no matter what, revealed an unbelievable true nature. She whipped Ryan into shape for not doing anything around the house, arguing that a man who can't handle household chores couldn't possibly work. While teaching him every household task, she made him look for work. If Ryan didn't move as Michelle wanted, she wouldn't let him eat properly that day. He who does not work, neither shall he eat. That was her principle. Once Ryan finally found a part-time job, Michelle quit her job. Her reason was that she couldn't be sure if he was really working. So she drove him to and from work. Indeed, while saying he was going to work, he might have been messing around with another woman. She never took her eyes off Ryan for a minute, and he was deprived of any freedom. Moreover, she didn't give him any pocket money, and when he went to work, he had to bring a water bottle and a hot dog. The hot dog also had a red heart drawn over the sausage to mark Michelle's presence. Thanks to that, they are managing to make the monthly payments. So it's all thanks to Michelle. However, Ryan has become quite thin and seems to have lost his sanity. Meanwhile, I returned to my parents' house and am living happily with my parents and child. Recently, I've been helping with my father's work, making my social debut and enjoying every day.